This is Gemarah and Eiruvin Daf Ches, and today's shir is sponsored the Schos Ilin Nishmasai for Levi ben Moshe Esther Kalati, whose yahrzeit is today on Chav Zayin Av, the Lima Torah Berabim, and all the learning Shvias Chos for the Ilin Neshama, as well as, of course, all the Chaylim Yudemir ben Yakir Menu Vekachem Vrum Chanita Chaim Mitzayir Shem Sibin Yizay the Sar Baskinadli Vasim As Chaysar Yusachem Mitzareth Yusay Ben Mindel Yis Paris Israeliyah Tanik Ben Chil Sar Shem Bas Naomi Vashav Fekah Vashir Chaner Fal Davim Nitviv Shoshan Tevas Eser Pseisha Chali Yisrael. We're going to pick it up from the top of Ches Amid Aleph, and thank you all for your feedback. And it's good to hear that Baruch Hashem we're seeing how Eiruvin with all the pictures and with everything could become attainable to everyone. We pick it up on the top of Ches Amid Aleph over here. Says the Gemara, Lamai disalik adaitan meikara, and that which we thought initially in the beginning, bein she'irvu, bein shelo yirvu pligi, that the machlekes is whether they made an eruv, whether they did not make an eruv. B'mai pligi, what is the machlekes? B'shelo yirvu, what is the machlekes when they didn't make an eruv? Or b'mai pligi, what's the machlekes? I'm sorry, b'mai pligi b'shelo yirvu, b'mai pligi b'shelo yirvu, pligi b'nir mevachotz. Sorry, let's read that one more time. There you go. That which we thought originally, that whether they made the eruv or they did not make an eruv, they are arguing. What is the machlekes? Whether there is an eruv, whether there is no eruv. Now the Gemara is going to go along to explain. So let's remind ourselves, really, this Gemara is a direct continuation of yesterday's Amud. Yesterday's Amud, we concluded that Rav Yehuda really could be both the opinion of Rav and Shmuel. Why? Because we said one is when there is an eruv, one when there's no eruv. So again, for anyone who hasn't remembered, here's a picture again in front of you. The case that we're talking about is Rishus Rabim into a Mavoi, into the Rachava, into this back lot. And the case over there was that the back lot is busted open in the back, straight into Rishus Rabim. So we ended up and we said, Lamaskana, the Machlekes is whether you're going to be allowed to carry. And this Mavoi is going to be Talui, is going to depend whether it is Irvu or whether it is an Irv or not. But the Gemara now is asking, what is the Havamina that the Machlekes was? And now the Gemara is going to go along to explain. So says the Gemara. Again, b'mai pligi b'shlo yirvu, pligi b'nir mibachot, b'shlo yirvu, again, 3 lines down, pligi b'nir mibachot, v'shav mibifnim. The case when there's no eruv, again, we have to find the case that there's machlekes Rav and Shmuel, both in this case that the Mavli is opened up into the backyard, a machlekes when there is an eruv, and a machlekes when there is no eruv. So the Gemara starts off, and the Gemara says, what is the machlekes when there is no eruv? The machlekes is pligi b'nir mibachot, v'shav mibifnim. In a case where you could see the hecker, the lechi, this vertical beam, you could see it from one side and not from the other side. That is the machlekes. So first, let's get another picture over here. This is a classical case, as you see over here. If you were to be inside the mavui and the lechi on the outside was flush with the wall, so from the mavui looking out, you're not going to see the lechi, but from outside, you're going to see the lechi. So this is the background of what the machlekes over here is. So let's go back. Let's pull up our original picture. So over here, this is going to be the machlekes. Again, do we say that in this case, when you're in the mavui looking into the backyard of the Rachava, you don't see any hecker? It just goes straight through, straight into the back lot, straight into the Rishus Rabim. Whereas when you're in the backyard, then when you look out, you do see this hecker. So this is the case where there's going to be a machlekes. What's the machlekes going to be? That in this is the case where Rav is going to say, and actually this is really the same case if this back lot would be a chutzner, because that was the case that they spoke about. But that would be that Rav would hold that you are allowed to carry in that case, and Shmuel would hold you're not allowed to carry in that case. What's the reason? Because Rav holds that it's like you're allowed to carry, because Rav says it's a regular doorway, because once you can see it from one way, again, if you're sitting in this Rechava, if you're sitting in the Chatzar, and you're looking into the Mavoi, then you could clearly see that there's walls over there. So in that case, says Rav, you'd be allowed to, it's called a Pesach, and therefore you're going to be allowed to carry even without an Eruv. We're talking about a case with no Eruv. And Shmuel comes along and Shmuel says, no, since when you look in front of the Mavui, it's busted open entirely, it's been malai, it's opened up entirely, and therefore you're not going to be allowed to carry. That is the first machlekes. Back into the Gemara. And it says the Gemara, Eiruvin kamifliki, in the case where they made an Eruv, what's the machlekes in that case? Bidder Rav Yosef. The arguing in the din of Rav Yosef, 5 lines down. The Amar Rav Yosef, lo yishanu ella shekala le'emsa rechava. This din that we're talking about is only like the picture that we keep on looking at when the mavli goes into the middle of the rechava. Avo kala letzidei rechava. If it goes into the side, then aser. then everyone agrees it's going to be forbidden. So first of all, what's this din of Rav Yosef? This is the din of Rav Yosef. As you see here in front of you, when the mavli goes straight into the back lot to this rechava and the wall is flush, in that case, says Rav Yosef, everyone agrees you're not allowed to carry. Why? Because from the mere fact that there's one wall going straight in and then go straight into Rosh Hashanah, what does this look like? This very well would seem like it's a mavli mafulish, that it's straight open, wide open, because one of the walls continues all the way, and therefore it's going to be forbidden according to everyone, says Rav Yosef. However, or it says Rav Yosef, but in this case, the case we've been discussing the whole time, that is going to be the machlokes. So now the Gemara is explaining what's the machlokes. Machlokes is that even if you made an eruv, again, let's remind ourselves, when we say eruv, we're talking about an eruv chatzeris. We're talking about making an eruv, a joint rishus between the people from the backyard and the people in the mavli. So in such a case, the machlokes is going to be when it's opened up like this. In this case, that's where Shmuel is going to say you're allowed to carry. What's the reason? Because from the fact that it's open into the middle of the backyard, you could see that it's not straight into Rosh Hashanah. Whereas Rav is going to say no. Rav says it's still, even in this case, again, Shmuel is going to say like Rav Yosef, that in this case it's open to the backyard and then it opens into Rosh Hashanah. Says Shmuel, it's clearly discernible that there's two separate areas, therefore you're allowed to carry if you made an Eruv. Rav is going to say no. Rav is going to say even if you made an Eruv, it's still forbidden to carry in the Mavli. Why? Because it looks like, again, in this picture you can see very clearly that when you're in that Mavli and you're looking out, what does it look like? It looks like it's a Mavli Mafulash. It looks like it goes straight into Rosh Hashanah, and therefore it's going to be forbidden. That is what the machlekes is, whether we hold of this din of Rav Yosef. Omar Rabba, 7 lines down, Hada Amr Lemser Rechava. Now we're going to continue in this train of thought, this din of Rav Yosef, this din that when the mavli is open into the middle of the backyard, whether you're allowed to carry, we're now going to give him more qualifications. Omar Rabba, says Rabba, Hada Amr Lemser Rechava Mutter. That which we said, when it's into the middle of the backyard, you're allowed to carry. Lo Yamaran, says Rabba, that's not only Ella, Zeh Shaloi Keneged Zeh. That's only if the part that's opened into the Rosh Hashanah is not directly opposite the Mavli. It's not that you can see straight from the Mavli into the backyard, into the Rosh Hashanah. That's not the case. Says Rabbah, the only time you're going to be allowed to carry is when Zeh Shaloi Keneged Zeh. Aval Zeh Keneged Zeh, then says Rabbah, it's going to be usher, you're not going to be allowed to carry. What's the case? Very simply, over here, as you see, is when the backyard, the part that's opened into Rosh Hashanah is not directly opposite opening the Mavui. It's slightly on the side. Says Rabbah, that's where Rav Yosef said his din. That's where Shmuel is going to be Mekel, that you're going to be allowed to carry into that area. But in the original case that we've been talking about the whole time, where it's open straight, says Rabbah, Rav Yosef wasn't talking about that case, and in that case it's going to be forbidden to carry. Again, before we go into Rav Mishashi, let's just remind yourselves, this whole Gemara today is in the Hava Amina. Limaskana, we spoke out at the end of yesterday, Lamaskana, we don't hold of this din that when it's opened into the Rechava, when it's one way, it looks like a Lachi. We do not hold of the din that it looks like a Mavi Mefulash. Rather, the entire Machlaikis is going to be whether there is an Eruv or whether there is no Eruv. And now Rabbah is coming along to further qualify that's only going to be when the Rechava, when the backyard is open, not opposite the opening of the Mavui, that's when you're going to be allowed to carry. But if not, says Rabbah, then everyone will agree it's like a Mefulash, it's like it's wide open into the Rosh Hashanah. Amar Rav Meshashia comes along Rav Meshashia and he says, Hada Amrit, 10 lines down, first one line is Ha. Hada Amrit Zeh Shaloi Keneged Zeh Mutter. According to the Manda Amar, that this one, when it's opposite, not opposite this one, it's Mutter, that which Rabbah just said, says Rav Meshashia, I'm going to qualify it even further. You could visualize like one of those, graph charts, down, further qualifications each time. Amar Meshashia, Hada Amrit Zeh Shaloi Keneged Zeh Mutter, Le'amar Ella Rechava. That's only in the case of the backyard, dirabim, of a lot of people. However, says Rav Misharshia, if the backyard of a singular person, then no. Why? Because there are going to be times that someone's going to change his mind and he's going to build a house over there. And then it's going to be as if it's a mavi that finishes on the side. And it's going to be forbidden in that case to carry. Again, let's understand what's going on over here. So we have a beautiful picture. This is the original picture that we just saw. And you see over here that there's room. But says Rav Meshashia, we're worried, anyone who's looking on the screen, we're worried right over here. If you see my cursor, we're worried right over here that he might end up building a house. He might extend the house. as you see very eloquently over here, you see that he extended it all the way in. You see it over here. You actually see it a little better in this picture, this 3D picture. You see beautifully over here that they did a little bit of an extension over here. They built an extra room over here. Now that they built this extension, what happens? Now the Mavi goes straight. Since now the Mavi goes straight, therefore says Ramashashia, if it's a Yachid, then we have to be worried he might come to do extensions. He might come to build this area, and therefore it's going to be forbidden to carry, even when, as you see over here, it's not open directly opposite it. Says Ramashashia back into the Gemara, the first white line, Uminat Taimra. And from where do we know the Shanila bin Rechava the Rab nor Rechava the Yachid? Where do I know this from? Says Ramashashia. Where do I know that I can differentiate between whether it's a backyard of a lot of people or a backyard of a singular person? Damarav Baravad Damarav Yitzchak. Ma'aseh b'Mavi Yachad. There's a story with a particular Mavi. Third wide line should see the Yachad, that one side, Kol Aliyam. One side of this Mavi went into the ocean. But see the Yachad, Kol Aliyam Ashma. And the other side opened up into a garbage heap. Uba, Ma'aseh B'nei Rabbi, and the story came in front of Rabbi. And what did Rabbi say? V'loi Amar Ba, Loi Hater, V'loi Isser. Rabbi said, I'm not going to say it's mutter, I'm not going to say it's aser. Isser, Loi Amar Ba, you didn't say it's aser. Why? Because Lamaisa, right now, there are walls. Right now, one side is garbage, one side is a sea. It's as if it's an enclosed area, mavoi. Therefore, you should be allowed to carry. We'll show up in a picture in a minute. Don't get nervous. Hater loy amraba, says Rabbi. I'm also not going to say it's mutter. Why? We're afraid that maybe the garbage is going to be removed, garbage removal. Or the ocean is going to have sediment that's going to come up. And therefore, you're going to lose the walls on those sides. And this is the proof to Rabbi Meshasha that we see, as the Gemara is going to go along to explain in a moment, that we see that we are always worried that something might change. And that's what Rabbi Meshasha says. That's a mav. We have a yachid. We have to be worried that maybe it's going to change and he's going to build that extra extension. So as you see over here in front of you, here's a mavi that one side is open into the sea. One side is open into the garbage. Here's another picture in front of you that you see one side is open into the sea. That's a big garbage heap on the other side. This is going to be the case that said Rav Misharsha, Rav would not. Why not? Because Rav was nervous that maybe it's going to change. That's a riot to me, says Rav Misharsha, that we see that we're always concerned that the situation might change. Says the Gemara, are we really concerned? We're still in the middle of this proof to Rav Misharsha. Are we really concerned that they might come to take away the garbage? But we learned in the Mishnah on Shabbos. We have a garbage in Shasarabim. That's 10 tefachim tall. If there's a window on top of that garbage heap. And we'll show a picture again. You look out your window and you see him in the middle of the street, in the middle of Rosh Hashanah. There's a big garbage heap that's above 10 tefachim. Are you allowed to throw out of your window onto that garbage heap? You allowed to, yes, throw on top of that garbage heap on Shabbos. Alma says the Gemara, so what do we see from there? Shani being ashva the rabbim, ashva the yachid. So we see that there's a different, so therefore we see you allowed to throw onto it. So that's part of the Gemara's question. Why are you allowed to throw onto it? Why aren't we worried? So we see that we're not worried that things are going to change. So why are you, Rav, telling me that we're worried they're going to come clear away the garbage? Answers the Gemara. Again, we have one Bryce that Rav quoted that one side is the ocean, one side is the garbage. You're not allowed to carry in that mavi. Why we're feeling clear away the garbage? We have a different Mishnah in Shabbos that says you're allowed to yes throw out the window onto this garbage heap, and therefore we're not worried that it's going to come to change the status. Because if the status is going to change, if this garbage heap removes its lower than 10 tefachim, you're no longer going to be allowed to throw something onto there. So we see that's direct stira. Answers the Gemara. The Gemara explains, Alma, what do we see? Shani bein ashva the rabbim, ashva the yachid. We see there's a difference between the ashva of a rabbim, the garbage of a public, and a private garbage. That when it's the private garbage, the guy's throwing out his window onto the garbage heap, that's your own personal garbage heap. So we're not afraid that's going to change. But ashva the rabbim, you're yes afraid it's going to change. Hachanami, so too by us. Shani bein Rechava the Rav and the Rechava the Yachid, the opposite way around. That by the Rechava, when it's your personal backyard, then we're afraid that you're going to go and build onto it. And that's the Raya to Mishasha, that when it comes to the backyard, if it's your personal backyard, you're not allowed to carry in that area because we're afraid that they might come, they're going to come build an extra extension, and then the Mavi will go straight into the backyard and will no longer have that extra wall over there. Before we continue the sheet of the Rabbanan, let's just see over here. This is a picture of someone throwing it out into the garbage heap. You see it's more than 10 tefachim. It's its own rishos. Therefore, that's why you're allowed to throw it out onto the garbage heap in Shabbos, and we see that we are not concerned. Says the Gemara of the Rabbanan, according to the opinion of the Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan hold? They also hold you're not allowed to carry in such a case, Rav Nachman al K'div Chachamim, that's halacha. Ikdi Amri, some people hold. Rav Yisrael Rav Dimi Tana v'Chachamim Matirim. Chacham said you're yes allowed to carry. In this case, again, this case of the Rechava in this backyard. Rav Nachman in al K'div Chachamim. The bottom line is, it is forbidden. Says the Gemara, Mereimar Pasuk L'Sura be'Ozli. Rav Marimar went to Surah be'Ozli. Amar Chashina Shemal Ayam Certain. You know what he did? He made these mats. He made these nets. The Pasuk L'Sura be'Ozli. He made these nets by the ocean at the end of the Mavui, and he said, you know why? Maybe the sediment's going to come up and you're going to lose the wall of the ocean. Before we go into the next case, let's just see a beautiful picture over here. Two beautiful pictures, actually. You see over here that these are mavis. I'm sorry, it's a little bit not clear. Here you see that the mavi is going into the ocean. And you see that what he built over here, he built these fenced areas in order that, just in case, this is a better picture. Baruch Hashem. You see over here, he built these fenced areas that just in case the ocean disappears, the sediment comes up, you still will have a wall at the end of the mavi and thereby be allowed to carry. And this is another proof to what we're saying, that in the event that you don't have such a wall, we're yes concerned that the ocean is going to disappear on you. Says the Gemara, there was a mavi akum, there was a mavi like an L, like we've seen many times in Surah. What do? Karach budya, they wrapped up a mat, and they put this rolled up mat in the bend to serve as a lechi, and they thought that would be a permit them to carry. Amar Rav Chisda, what's going on over here? Haloika Rav, v'loika Shmuel. L'Rav, it's not like the opinion of Rav Damataraski Mefulash. We know, we've seen many times Rav holds in all these L-shaped cases like a Mefulash, just like a wide open Mavui, and therefore says, Rav, what do you need? Surah Pesach Bai. You need to actually have a door opening at the bend. So what are you doing over here putting up this lechi, which isn't really a lechi, it's a rolled up mat? L'Shmuel, Damar Tarasik Esasam, Hani Vili Lechi Ma'alya. Even Shmuel holds you only need a real lechi over there. Hi. But over here, this rolled up mat, given the Nasha Bazika, the wind's going to come, and what's going to happen? Vishadi light's going to blow it away. Like Lamu, it's going to be nothing. So what are these people doing? This Mavi Akum and Surah, what are they doing? Putting up this rolled up mat. Says the Gemara, if you put in a peg and you attach it that it won't move, then it would at least fit with the opinion of Shmuel. Here you see in front of you, as you see in the bend over here, they put this rolled up mat. That was the case that we were just discussing. Says the Gemara, two dots were on Chesam and Aleph, about 10 lines to the bottom, Gufa. Says the Gemara, Omar Rav Yirmiyah Barava, Omar Rav, Mavui Shenifrat b'Malay Lachatzer. The same case that we're discussing the last few days. You have this Mavui that's opened up into a Chatzer. V'nifrat Chatzer Kenagdai. And the Chatzer opposite it is open into Rosh Hashanah. Hopefully by now we know what this picture is. V'Chatzer Mutares Mavui Aser. What's the din? What did Rav teach us in this case? This was the din of Rav, that the Chatzer you're allowed to yes carry, and in the Mavui you're not allowed to carry. And again, this was the case that we started off today. This was the case that Rav Yehuda discussed. This was the case that Allah Lamaisa, depends if you made an Eiruvin or not. But says the Gemara, this din of Yirmiyah Barava. Again, you have, we'll throw this picture one last time. You have this Mavi that goes into, it's not a backyard, it's going to be a Chatzer. And then it's going to go into Shus Rabbim. Said Rav, what's the din in this case? In this case, you're not allowed to carry in the Mavi, but you're allowed to, yes, carry in the Chatzer. Says the Gemara, Amar Lei Rabba, Barula Ravivi Barabba, Rabbi Lo Mishnah Seinu Yizu. What are you coming along? You over here, Barabba, and you're telling me as if you said this in the name of Rav. It's a Mishnah. What's the Mishnah? Chatzer Ketana Shenifr Tzaddik Gedayla. You have a small Chatzer that opens up into a larger Chatzer. Gedayla Mutares v'Ketana Asura. You're allowed to carry only in the bigger one, but not in the smaller one. What's the reason? You're not allowed to carry in it because it's like the doorway of the gadol. So seemingly this is the same thing as in our case. That just like in this case, when as you see in front of you, you have a large chutzner open into a small chutzner. He said you're not allowed to carry in the smaller chutzner because we view that as if it's the doorway to the larger chutzner. That's exactly like our case. That truth is, if you look at this, you can even envision that this is like a mavli opening into the chutzner. So if we have a straight up Mishnah that teaches us that in this case you're not allowed to carry in the chutzner, kitana, the small chutzner up top here. You're only allowed to carry in the bottom. That's the exact same case of this mavli. So why are you coming along and telling me as if it's your chiddush, Rav? Amarle, you responded, if you only had that Mishnah, I would have thought, I would have thought only when not a lot of people go there. Then I would have thought, you would have thought you'd be yes allowed to carry in that case. Says the Gemara 1 second. Vanami Tanina, 2 lines from the bottom. That's also a Mishnah. Chatzer Arabim Nichlasim La Bizu, V'Yaitz Bizu. If you have a Chatzer of the Rabbim that they go in from one end and enter out the other end, basically our regular case of all the Mavais that we're talking about that goes through a Chatzer and the Rabbim goes straight through it. What's the din? Versus the Rabbim the Tumah, the last line, versus a Yachid Shabbos. It's a din versus a Rabbim for Tumah, but with Karta Shabbos, it's yes a din versus a Yachid, and you're allowed to carry in it. So you see that even if a Rabbim goes through it, you're allowed to carry in it. Says the Gemara, I would have thought on these I would have thought it's only if it's not exactly opposite, like we keep on saying that it's not exactly straight. Avol, moving on to Chesam and Beis. Avol, Zekeneged Zeh. But when they're exactly opposite each other, Eimalai, I would have thought no. So that's why Rav had to come along and tell us that even when Zeh Keneged Zeh, inside the Chutz you're allowed to carry, inside the Mavli you're not allowed to carry. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Ula Rav, the Amar, according to Rav, that actually says what you just said. The Amar, Zeh Keneged Zeh is Aser, that you're not allowed to carry when it's straight. You're only allowed to carry when it's not straight. Rav, Hadda Rav, my Mukila. What's the case of Rav? We're going to have to say that according to Rav Ba, the case of Rav is going to be Bizeh Shaloi Keneged Zeh. It's going to have to be a case where they're not exactly opposite each other. So Tarti Lamalis, why do we need 2 cases? Says the Gemara, Yimi Asam Hava Amina, 4 lines down, Chasam Beis, Hani Mili Lizraik. You would have thought that the whole case is about throwing. You will not be permitted, Kamash Lan, so Rav to come along to tell us that you're even allowed to carry in that case. Beautiful. Let's move along. And as you all see in your Gemaras in the top corner, a beautiful picture, you know something wonderful is coming up. Says the Gemara, 6 lines down, Chasam Beis. Itmar. Mavui ha'asi kinadol. A mavui that is made like a nadol. What's a nadol? A nadol is a centipede. What's a centipede? An animal with a lot of legs. And what do you have to do? Don't worry, we'll have a picture, or you see in your Gemara. Suras HaPesach ligadol. You have a Suras HaPesach at the big opening. V'hana kulu mishri b'lechi b'kaira. And the rest of the openings permitted with a lechi or a kaira. Again, here's your nadol, here's your centipede in front of you. As you see, at the large opening over here, you have a Suras HaPesach. And at all the smaller openings over here, you have lechi. You see a similar picture over here, for those who like more digital. See the same thing over here. You see a Suras HaPesach at the big opening, and you see lechis at the smaller openings. Again, this is the centipede, because it's like these legs, these mavuis going down. So says the Gemara, that's what you have to do. Amrle Rava comes like Rava says, come on. Who are you going according to? That you said you need a Suras HaPesach at the big opening and a lechi at the small openings. Come on, Kishmuel. You're going according to the opinion of Shmuel. Da'amar Teirasai Kisasam. That it's like as if it's a closed off. That anytime you have this bent mavui, it's as if it's closed, and that's why we're going according to the opinion of Shmuel. So says the Gemara, Lamlei Suras HaPesach. So why do you need a Suras HaPesach at the doorway? We know that Shmuel's opinion is all you need is a lechi or a kaira. And furthermore, there was that Mavi Yaakov that we keep on hearing about in our Dai, and they were chayshish for the opinion of Rav. So what's going on over here? Remember, that was where we said both chumras. That's where we said you need doors. So why all of a sudden over here it's neither opinion? And why is it like Shmuel? And even if it's like Shmuel, why is it only Suras HaPesach? Rava comes like Rava says like Suras HaPesach lekulu. No, it means you need to have a Suras HaPesach for each and every opening. Lahai gisa, Surah HaPesach lekuzu lahai gisa vidach gisa mishri v'lechi v'kaira, and the other side is going to be mutter v'lechi v'kaira. As you see, we'll do first the digital picture over here. You see that at each opening they have a Suras HaPesach like. And that's the reason why on the bend you have the Suras HaPesach, and you see similarly over here that you see at each bend you have Suras HaPesach, and the lechis are only going to be at the ends of this nozzle of the centipede. Amar Rav Kahana bar Tachlifa Mishmei de Rav Kahana bar Minyumi Mishmei de Rav Kahana bar Malchi Mishmei de Rav Kahana Rabbi de Rav V'Amar Rav Kahana bar Malchi Hainu Rav Kahana Rabbi de Rav. Difference of opinions who is talking over here. Mavu Shasidi Yachad Aruch V'Sidi Yachad Katzer. We have a mavli that one side is long and one side is short. If it's less than 4 amos, you put the beam on a diagonal. But if it's 4 amos wide, long, then you can't put the kaira there. So again, we'll pull up a picture and we'll explain for anyone. And again, I highly advise anyone to get a picture book. Again, I remind everyone we put the shiur on YouTube also. If everyone wants high definition, HD quality. You see over here that one side of the mavli is longer, one side of the mavli is shorter. So in this case, what's the din? So says the Gemara, if you have less than 4 amos between the longer, well again, let's envision your mavli, you're walking into your mavli, one side is longer than the other side. So what's the din in that case? Says the Gemara, if the longer end is less than the shorter end by 4 amos, then you'll have to put the kaira on a diagonal. However, if it's going to be more than 4 amos, then you don't put the kaira, the beam, on a diagonal, rather you have to put it straight. And obviously you're going to lose that area underneath the beam. And here's one last picture, 3D picture over here beautifully, as you see that when it's less than 4, you're allowed to put it on the diagonal. Says the Gemara, back into the Gemara, then you have to put the beam straight. Rava Amar comes along Rava, and Rava says, in both cases, whether it's 4 amos, whether it's not 4 amos, can I get a kotzer? You're only allowed to put it, can I give the kotzer? You're only allowed to put the beam straight. You're never allowed to put it on the diagonal. So we have a machlekes over here between Rava, and we'll say the first opinion in many different names over there. Whether, when it's less than 4, are you allowed to put a beam on a diagonal and gain the area onto the diagonal? Rava said no. First opinion said yes. Ve'ima time didi comes like Rava, and Rava says, let me explain to you my reasoning. Ve'ima time didu, and let me explain to you your the other reasoning. I'll tell you my reasoning. What is the reasoning of a kaira? Again, a fundamental shayla that we had all the way back in Gimel base. That's going to keep on coming up again and again. Why do you put up a kaira? Why do you put up this horizontal beam in the entrance of the mavui? Mishon hecker. The reason is to make a hecker, to make it noticeable that the mavui is ending, and you're not let it carry into the Rishus Harabim. Says Rabba. My reasoning is when you put something on a diagonal, lo have a hacker. It's not a hacker, it's not a reminder. When something's on a diagonal, you're not going to really see it so well. And therefore, says Rava, that's why I hold whether it's less than 4, whether it's more than 4, you never let it put the kair on a diagonal, you have to put it straight. Says Rava, and I'll tell you your reasoning. I'll tell you your reasoning. Kaira, mishamai, what's the reason of a kair? Mishamachitza. You must argue with me, and you say, what's the kair for a machitza? It's like a wall. Therefore, when it's on a diagonal, even if you're not reminded because it's on a diagonal, but at the end of the day, it's like a machitza. Therefore, it will be permitted. So, a fundamental machlok is Rav in the first opinion. Whether it's a hacker, says Rav, for the kair has to be straight. Whether it's a mechitza, it could be on a diagonal. Amar Rav Kahana. Since there's opinions of Kahani, because if you go back and look at all the names that we had, there was lots of Rav Kahanas over there. So says the Rav Kahana himself, so let me add something in. That which you said, that which you said, you could put the kaira on the diagonal. Be careful, it can't be more than 10 amos. Again, the width of the mavoi, we know already from the Mishnah Daf Beis can be more than 10. Comes the Rav Kahana and he teaches us, but in this case, let's say your mavoi is 9.5 wide amos, and then it's on a diagonal. Quickly, a diagonal we all know is larger than the straight lines. So if it's 9.5, for example, very quickly the diagonal is going to be more than 10. Says Rav Kahana, be careful because that's not going to be good. Can I get a kotzer? You're only allowed to put it opposite that shorter end, and you have to put it straight. That's the end of this case of the mavoi, one side longer than the other side. Ibayelu Gemara is a question, fundamental shayla that we already started discussing back on Gimel or Dalid. Now the Gemara goes into it again. Are you allowed to carry underneath the beam? Rav Chaver Rav Yochanan Amri, Shmuel Rav Shimon Bar Rav Shimon Lakish Amri, also the Shamish Tachas Kaira. What's the machlokes? Says the Gemara. We're 7 lines for the wide lines. Var says the reason is it's like a hacker. And that's going to depend whether you're going to be allowed to carry underneath. Whether you're going to be allowed to carry underneath the beam. So let's see Rashi for a moment. We have 1 more minute over here. Let's just see Rashi. Rashi's been explained. Rashi says over here, go with 3 lines into the wide lines of Rashi. Rashi says, and the inside wall goes down. Because since it's a machitza, therefore it goes down from the middle, the inside part of the kaira, and therefore past there, you're outside of the kaira, you're outside of the machitza, you can carry. And that's the reason why Mar Savar, I'm sorry, back into the Gemara one more time. And that's going to depend whether you're allowed to carry underneath. Again, if you hold this like a mechitza, then it's the outer edge, inner edge, then you're not going to be able to carry underneath it. If you hold this like a hacker, you're going to be able to, carry on it. Says Gemara, everyone agrees the hacker, which we keep on pointing out, that is Allah Lamaisa. What's the machlekes? Which side is the hacker? Is the hacker from the inside edge or is the hacker from the outside edge? Another territory. Everyone holds it's because of a mechitza, last narrow line. What's the machlekes? Everyone agrees in mechitza. One says the inside edge, one says the outside edge. And that in the case they're using a lechi, as you see over here, lechi is the vertical beam. The bein lechayim, the area opposite the lechi itself, everyone agrees that in that case you're not going to be allowed to carry. We'll basically finish over here. Let's just show one last picture to open up our brains for tomorrow's Gemara. The Gemara now is going to have an interesting shayla. Let's just show the picture and then we'll call it a day. If you put in, basically at the end of the mavui over here, you put in 2 pegs and then you lay down the kaira. So the kaira basically is on the outside of your mavui. What is it in this case? We'll pick it up from here tomorrow.